First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from April 22nd, 2024. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Joel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Monty. Any discussion? Assuming a roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, the district facilities projects update. Jonathan.
Thank you, Vice President Berger. This will be very similar to last time, except we have split out the safety and security in its own separate line item. So I'm going to go through a high-level update on projects. Feel free to stop me at any time in questions. I will ask questions. I will pause and give you time for that as well. But with that, I'll just kick it off. We have facilities project updates. Valley Middle School. Valley Middle School, we're still doing soil correction. We got set back just a little bit due to weather. But we did find in the southeast corner some extra organic material we had to mine out a little deeper and have a larger amount of soil correction than we expected. But we're kind of coming to a close on that. Career Impact Academy, I just want to say thank you to Vice President Berger and Mr. Anderson for being at our site walk last week. That was a ton of fun. We got to bring out teachers out there with Mr. Ripley and kind of show them how the building is being built and where their spaces will be. At this point, we're insulating parapet as well as putting up exterior framing and insulated metal panels. And you can see that we're getting ready to pour the bottom floor, hopefully by the end of the week. And if you look on the slide on the right, that is the second floor. That second floor is poured out, and we're able to bring the teachers and our guests up there as well. Central kitchen, again, one that was set back a little bit due to weather. We had some extra corrections on that as well. We think we found the pile of black dirt from when this building was built. As you can see, we are finishing up our civil. We have where we cut out the concrete in the parking lot. We should be able to be ready to pour that in the next week or so. And then you can see the site work on the right. And inside we have our first masonry wall up. That's very exciting. So right behind the temporary wall, if you walk back into the warehouse, we now have a full CMU wall. And if you look on the right side, you can see that they're building another CMU wall, which will be the corridor right across from all of the offices. Go ahead.
What does CMU stand for?
Sorry, concrete masonry unit. It's just the cinder, like almost cinder blocks.
Just testing.
We also got, thanks to Kelly Tannehill and Lauren Hoheisel for letting us get in their buildings early. And we started demolition on the HVAC systems in Kelly and Lewis and Clark. Our crews are working incredibly fast, and I'm very impressed with them. In 2.5 days, they completely gutted the Kelly boiler room. Funny story, there was a teacher at Kelly that said, "Hey, it's a little chilly in here. Could you turn the boilers on?" And much to their surprise, when they opened the door, there were none. Lewis and Clark got started a few days after Kelly did, and the picture on the right is from today, so we should have that done in the next couple days, 3 days. Lewis and Clark is a little bit more difficult to get the pieces out because it's in and then a 90 degrees and down into the basement. Go ahead. I don't have the exact age on that. It's definitely not original. That's actually our oldest school in the district right now, but I don't have that information. The roof restoration, another thanks goes out to Dr. Arison for allowing us to get in early. I'm going to go through a little more explanation of this project because I feel like I didn't get time to do that last time. But so if you look up on the left picture, you see that hose, and if you can squint a little bit, there's a little roller, what looks like a little vacuum attachment. So essentially they have a giant truck that sits down and it creates a suction, and they suck all of the aggregate, all of that gravel off the roof. So they'll suck that off and then they'll clean the roof. I've got a couple pictures of that. And then if we look on the right, just to go through all the red areas you see on these, and I'll go through all three projects, are areas that they will be cutting out the rooftop and replacing the insulation. That's where we found wet insulation. And then within those areas, as you can see, they're kind of sectioned off. We will be cleaning and then applying a fluid rubber barrier and epoxy that will cover the entire area, not just the areas that we replaced, but that whole roof section. And with that, we'll get a 20-year warranty on that section of roof from leaking. And if you can see, we've also got the same thing with Phoenix and Ben Franklin. We hope to get into those in the next few weeks to get the aggregate off, and then after that, work with them to start those projects. Other summer projects, the district lighting upgrade continues. We hope to make some good progress on that. Carpet replacement at Winship, Lake Agassiz, and Central. I'll specifically talk about Central. We did have some unique, we'll say, results with asbestos testing. We found 2 tiles that looked near identical. One was hot, one was not. So we, instead of having to go by tile, we are now having to test every single room. So we're unsure what our abatement load will be and what will get done. The Winship envelope restoration, they hope to start on that next week. And that's a really exciting project. Any questions on these current projects?
Go ahead, Monty.
Yep. That's part of the guaranteed energy savings with the boilers, and then also we did upgrades to LED lighting and some motion control lighting, as well as envelope upgrades.
Other questions? Bill?
Any more comments on the playground at Winship?
Yep, I'm working with Meredith Richards from the city was administering that grant, and she retired. So I'm now working with the person that replaced her. We're working on getting some updated numbers for that comply with Davis-Bacon, so we can go through that bid process.
Amber, any questions? No, Dr. Lund.
Could you give us just a brief update about the Grand Forks Central Pool?
Yes, sir. I'm working with Water Technologies Incorporated, I believe, WTI. They're the consultant for the new aquatic center, and they have set me up with Associated Pool Builders out of Bismarck, and we're trying to kind of work together when they're all in town for that project to see what they think it would cost, and is there any way we could possibly repurpose some equipment. If we would say want to open the central pool, could we repurpose some pumps, some filtration as even parts for the new aquatic center?
I thought we were going to try to fill it and test the central pool.
Yep, that is part of this process. I don't personally feel comfortable just filling it with water and pressing the on switch, so I just want to have professionals look at it first.
I believe we can move on to safety and security project update.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome.
Do you have to have the attachment that I forwarded, the budget pricing by chance or not? I have a couple handouts.
Yeah,
I can plug in my computer as well, if that is an option.
I'm not sure here. I can quick make some copies and hand them out at the table, but just by way of introduction here, we have Chad Dustin with Construction Engineers, and he's our, the construction manager at risk on the project involved, and then Casey Hutton with the APC is our design firm on this. Safety and security is it's been an interesting project, and there's a multifaceted, many different sites, and these guys have really taken a nice approach of different tiers. What do we do first here? And you heard earlier at the board meeting the approval of one of the most pressing needs of renewing the door access code or the key fobs. So that was the very first step, but then you're going to be taken through probably, well, 3 different tiers of priority listing here. And they're going to give you a lot more detail than that. So I apologize, we'll get you that handout, but are we able to get started? I don't know, let me see.
No, there's nothing more there.
There's one extra, did anyone need it?
We'll hold it up. We'll hold it up for him.
Thank you.
So, everybody here okay? Where we're at with this is that, as Brandon mentioned, we started kind of splitting up all of the schools into 3 different tiers. And that didn't necessarily, it basically coordinated to the top. The first tier is the group that we felt had the most significant security challenges. It doesn't mean it was necessarily the easiest ones to do, so we started with those, and we've got a couple projects that we've gotten through our first tier. There's 3 tiers altogether. We've gotten preliminary pricing estimates back from construction engineers, so we've put together kind of a projected costs on the majority of these. Our second and third tiers, second tier has similar projects involved in it, and then the third tier is kind of a lesser expenses is what we're anticipating, so that's why we wanted to start with our most expensive projects and kind of move down, and that way we can make sure that we're saving enough of the budget to be able to finish the project completely. The majority of what we're seeing as far as challenges has been revolving around entries to the building with secure entrances, and if anybody's familiar kind of with how things are set up at Discovery, that's the most recent school entry that's been built around here. And really the concept is that rather than letting everybody directly into the school and then finding the office, we want to funnel them straight from a locked vestibule into the office, so that way they have to be greeted by a real person, and even before they can head out of the office into the school, they need to be let in. First they need to be let into the office, then they need to be let out of the office. It's sort of a double check system so that nobody gets into the school without correct approval. With that, I think that's kind of the major focus for most of these first few projects. Some of them we're able to work through designs that we're working within the existing footprint, so we're not having to add on to the building. We're just doing some interior renovations, which is helpful. Other ones we've found there's just not enough space to do that, and we're going to have to look at doing some minor additions to the buildings to make them a little more functional. With that, Chad, I don't know if you want to maybe start walking through where we're at with some of these.
Yeah, Chad Dustin, Construction Engineers.
Just speak over the mic, thanks.
Chad Dustin, Construction Engineers. Thanks for having me. With a little packet that got handed out. So kind of to break this down, the top one on the list there is the access controls that we got GMP approval on tonight for that project, I guess we'll call it, out of the whole district wide system here that we're working on. As you can see, the other ones that are kind of populated there that have the phase where it says phase SD. So that means we've got schematic design drawings from EAPC currently on that and have gone through the pricing stage of those as far as the SD is concerned. There's quite a bit of additional information there. Under the building construction totals too, we can expand this out to have a little bit more information to show you what is actually included in the building construction as well. We just kind of have it all wrapped into kind of columns so that it's a little bit easier to understand here too. But generally, how this is broke down is kind of our anticipated duration right now. Obviously, understanding that we're at the schematic design phase with this as well. And we did kind of break it down percentage-wise on the right-hand side there as far as, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, kind of what we're anticipating. So as you're looking at this through the schematic design, currently we're at about 44% allocated towards all the tier 1 schools that are on this list here. And then working with EAPC, kind of putting some budgets together on the balance of the schools that we don't have any drawings for yet that EAPC is currently working on. That's kind of where you're seeing the budgets down there where the sheet here is less populated, where we just have a budget on the right-hand side there. That's kind of what we're budgeting right now. Obviously, we have 18 million total for this whole project as a whole to complete all the schools here, which you can see on the bottom as well too. One other item to note on the sheet that we have attached is there's a kind of the last item on the list there, which is allowances. So as you're looking down, previously what we had budgeted for South Middle School, like the first school on the Tier 2 that you see there, was roughly $800,000 without knowing exactly what it was. Once we got some information from EAPC on that, we actually priced it out. Currently, it's at about $235,000 total. So basically what we're doing is taking any additional funds that we currently have as part of the project as a whole and moving them down to this allowance item, which is basically going to be, I don't want to speak for you, Brandon, but as we all know that things change, design changes a little bit here and there. We're basically still showing that that's part of the project as a whole, but don't want to completely pull it out of the project at this point until we have full construction drawings on all the projects too. So, other than that, one thing I will note as well, so we have everything wrapped up here. We have some budgets percentage-wise as far as the soft costs are concerned. So FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, items that the school district would be providing on their own. We've just got some budget placeholders there, so that total soft cost that you're looking at, that number may change once we have a little bit more information on the drawings. But generally, our contract amount would be the yellow column there, the total construction cost, which would be the building construction total, plus permits, bonds, and insurances. And then one item to note too is that we are still carrying 10% design contingency on these SD items as well, plus our 5% construction contingency that we'll carry out throughout the project as well too. So I don't want to say that we're, basically I just want to note that the allowance item that we're carrying at the bottom is kind of yours to spend as we get into design a little bit more on these projects, noting that we still have design contingency built into each one of these projects currently. So obviously as we get through DD, that design contingency amount will drop down a little bit more, and then once we get to CDs and actually bid out the project, that design contingency is gone at that point, so.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that outline, and just to underscore a couple of things there, is you're building over a couple different years, with all these projects. You're not exactly sure which year you're going to be in. There's inflation, there's a lot of different variables here. It's not quite like design a school, build a school, and we get one GMP for that. So these guys are dealing with the complexity of a situation here. So to reiterate, you've said this, but I'll say it again, that when they got started, it's kind of well, this is what we think it's going to cost, and then the architects do their work for schematic design, then they get a little further with design development, and finally they reach the full drawings of construction documents, and it's only with those set of documents that we can bid it and get the actual numbers that are guaranteed. So you can see here, we've got placeholders to keep in mind that the referendum budget on this is 18 million. So how do we make sure we're leaving enough at the end of the day for all these things? That's the way we're looking at that. And we've also really focused primarily on the secure entrances, when there's been other concepts that we've talked about that can be addressed by allowances, including mass notification or other elements that really can help improve safety and security across the district. So it's been an interesting project to work on, that's for sure, and we're thankful for these guys' expertise to kind of pull all those variables together and kind of put it in one budget document, even though we're talking about a bunch of different projects all at the same time.
Yeah, thank you for this. Just a question about where it says duration.
Yep.
Is the duration the time period from that includes the schematic design phase, or is that just the actual construction component? And then if just the latter, obviously we don't have as many summer months as are predicted here. So do we have to anticipate likely rerouting student traffic to the non-main entrance? Can you just talk about that a little bit, please?
Yeah, for sure. So the duration that you're seeing there is just our preliminary construction duration. So when we get to site until we turn the space over to you, that's the duration that you're looking at there. As far as the access, we'll say, for all the schools during construction, that's kind of a moving target. We don't know exactly what that's all going to look like. Once we get final drawings for a specific school, say Red River, which there is the potential to do construction on Red River during school, being that we're looking at kind of reorientating some of the front entrance area. Some of these projects will be able to happen during school time without having an impact to the students as well too. Obviously, some of them will have that impact, and we'll have to obviously kind of hash out those a little bit further as we know more information on each one of these schools too. So, yep.
Other questions? Dr. Lund?
The last few bids we've had one bidder for some of them, and I wonder with some of this is probably pretty specialized type of thing. Are we anticipating that there'll be a lot of bidding on this, or is there possibilities that we will have several projects with maybe just one bidder?
Yeah, it's hard to say right now, not knowing timeline-wise is going to be a big thing. You know, we may bid out 3 of the schools at one time, but knowing that we're not going to be starting them all at the same time as well. You know, I know that we've had some better bids that we've received in recently on some other projects as well, too. I don't want to say that that is a for sure to roll into these projects as well. Just bigger projects, you get more bidders. Something like this is going to be a little more specialized, a lot of some demo, miscellaneous renovation type work, things like that. You know, we're not going to get, likely won't get some bigger bidders from the cities and stuff like that, that we could potentially get some savings on from bidders as well too. But I would expect that most of the bidders that we have on the project are going to be local to the area, so.
And the schedule for how this happens too, it's as complex as I'll say the design is, the construction and the bidding is going to be almost the exact same thing, just to set it all up before they even start digging or demoing anything. We're going to work with trying to get different projects with similar schedules so that maybe somebody might be interested in bidding multiple of them and have a better interest in a bigger project versus a smaller project. So there's a lot of moving parts, and we're moving them back and forth a lot right now.
Okay, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, when are you anticipating first shovel in the ground that we can anticipate doing on one of the schools?
Yeah, it's a good question. We're kind of working right now with the APC in the district to see if there's any, I don't want to call it low-hanging fruit, but if there's some smaller exterior projects that we can do this summer to try to knock those out and get them out of the way. Right now, I won't speak for APC, but I believe that they're kind of concentrating on Red River currently to finalize design on that one, which would obviously target kind of that August timeframe to get started. Once we get CDs complete, bid that out, go through the whole pre-con process. But likely and shovels in the ground is kind of another one too, you know. There is a couple schools that we're currently doing small additions on, just to get the access and the layout into the offices correct. But big project-wise, we're not going to have a big project, shovels in the ground, but, you know, there might be a wall demo, brick breaking type thing that we could look at doing to kind of get some interest and kind of show that work is progressing as well too, so.
Others? Dr. Lund and then Dr. Shep.
Brandon, I can't remember the gentleman's name from Bismarck that had all the expertise. Is he still involved in this process? Because that's been one of my concerns is, do we have the right experts at the tables?
Yep, that's Don Mosman. He's part of the team with the APC. And so, I mean, we haven't had to touch base with him in a while because he's the one, our team from EAPC that does the CEPTED studies, and then him and his team both walked mostly together, but sometimes separately to make sure we got every building covered. And we've, I don't know where exactly the document's gone, but we've put together kind of an evaluation of every single one of those schools. And as we get through more of these designs, Don will also still be providing input. We have kind of regular review sessions where once we get the user input from the different administrators whose offices we're rearranging, we'll also get Don's opinion on what we're doing as well. So he's still part of the process.
Dr. Shep.
So I feel like I'm going to sound a little bit like a crab cake, okay, just to preface it. So I'm looking at Winship, the design that was passed out, and so I know that the inside isn't going to change, right? I mean, the classrooms are still going to be small. So this looks absolutely gorgeous and new, right? So, but we're not changing the inside. That's one question, right? We're not changing the inside.
Well, with this image from Winship, so Red River and Winship are kind of the first two we've been pushing right now, and those are the images we've got here. The Winship one is a minor addition. that would allow, so there is a little bit of new space here that'll be added for sort of the administrative reception area and to allow for that secure entrance through the office as opposed to straight into the school.
Sure. So the other question that I have is Wilder, which we don't have a photo of, but I'm looking at that price of $2,638,610. That's just a projected cost. And I'm thinking about the portables that are in the back. So how do they fit with this security plan? And again, people are going to see these buildings, the front face, and they're going to be lovely. And so I'm a very strong proponent of having wished that in my board time, I could have helped this community build a North End school. I'll just lay it on the table. So I'm trying to balance those portables, because to go to the restroom, you have to go out of a portable and get in, and that's not particularly secure.
Right. And actually, that's, I love that comment because the modular classrooms, the portables, were very much considered a strong security issue for the building. And actually, the number that Chad has included in there is, for when it came to Wilder, we had sort of a base option that would get rid of a couple of the modular classrooms and then create a different office sequence. And then we also have an alternative that we can add on to that where we can actually get rid of both sets of modulars, because each one of those modular classrooms has 2 classes in it, and we'd really like to get them all inside the main school. But obviously there's a substantial price to that, so we have to sort of tread lightly and see how much money we have.
Yeah, so just to note, phase 1 that you're looking at there is a small addition on the west side of the school, west side of the school. That school's kind of runs a goofy direction there, opposite of Highway 2, basically. So there's a small addition there, and phase 2 is actually adding on a bigger addition on that west side that would kind of encompass that. So what you're seeing there for phase 1 is basically, I can't remember exactly how that was, but part of that is under phase 1. We do have pricing for phase 2 as well, but we kind of wanted to see where all the other projects ran out, you know, what we had dollar-wise before we brought that to the table as well, too, so.
Bill?
Yeah, I just don't want us to forget that we also have relocatables at Viking, and they're just as important as the relocatables at Wilder.
Yep, and that one's being kind of laid out in the same kind of fashion so that we have sort of one phase or plan that can help us with our secure entrance, and then sort of a second piece that we can bid at the same time and find out if there's enough money, we can add those extra classrooms and get rid of those relocatables.
Other questions? Amber?
No, I do not.
Monty?
Gentlemen, my sense is that so this is your first appearance here with this information, and I feel sort of at a disadvantage. You guys have the plans, and you can see that, and you can talk us through that, but we don't get to see that yet, and I understand that they're not totally finished. I understand that part, but will those finished plans come to us prior to construction beginning?
I would assume that would make sense.
It's generally not a board function to approve designs. We would generally bring a GMP. We're happy to have board input, but we don't want to muddy the water on a full design and then have to go back.
But just for clarity, you have to come back to the board to get final approval of the project after you've got bids.
Correct. That would be the approval of the GMP.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Anything else from the front?
Yeah, I'd just like to add too, I know we're talking design-wise, but EAPC and their team has obviously been meeting with each of the stakeholders at each one of these schools to go over the best design, you know, and go through all the logistics that you guys are bringing up at each one of these schools as well too. So I don't want to say that they're not doing that. I just want to make it known that they are having those conversations with all the individuals at each one of the schools as well ahead of time. So the design that they're putting together reflects the input from the user group as a whole, so.
Maybe just want to clarify one thing based on a board member's question. You know, when Valley Middle School is being built and it's going through the whole design process, we're seeing pictures and we're seeing updates, same with the Career Impact Academy. I think that's the question from everybody at this table. Will we see, you know, renderings and drawings of what that space is going to look like? And I'm thinking the answer is yes. I know the guaranteed maximum price will be board approved, but we'll want to see some renderings as well.
Yep, and that's kind of, I mean, we kind of wanted to just sort of wet your whistle a little bit here on some of these. The, you know, the Winship one is pretty obvious. The Red River High School one is not quite as glamorous because it's not a new front building, and I didn't get color on this one, but the new office will be kind of in that existing locker bay. And so we will definitely, I mean, this is kind of how we work, is we do these pretty pictures to kind of convey the ideas. And I think what Jonathan's probably getting at is that we're working with the users to make sure that we're getting the right needs. And so it's probably not so much a back and forth, but I would imagine we'll have a final product that everyone will get to see and be excited about.
Thank you. Jeff?
I think what the discussion here is, we've seen problems before. For example, in South, I think it was, we had some design elements in there that were, of course, given suggestions to have and things like that. Didn't work out so well, and now we have to pay to correct that. And if we can see some of that stuff before and give our opinions as well, it might work. And I'm more than open to however we want to do it. I guess I'm going to defer to Jonathan because he's kind of my liaison with the group, but we can assist as needed.
Yeah, we'd be happy to take board input. My suggestion would be the board designate a person or a committee, just so we could be a little more nimble with that. It's very hard to bring the whole board together and look at those things.
Yeah, and my suggestion wasn't to have the board members be part of the user group providing that input, but just to see progress. That was my point. Secondly, if you're closing now, I would invite Daley to come up and talk about our process that we have out front here, because we've made a significant change here at MSCC just within the last couple of weeks.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Just kidding. It's been a long day, I apologize. I also didn't know how to make color prints. It's the first time I've ever used the color printer. So apologize for the one being wrong, but so we have made significant changes up front. Chris has taken a different job. So our front entrance right now, our sequence is a little bit goofy. We put on a doorbell for the exterior. Now that it's nice enough outside, we don't feel bad leaving people outside. And if it's raining, we've tended to cover the front as quickly as we can. But we've ordered a door to go where the double set of doors is right now, so the interior set to match, I believe, the exterior door, and the push-to-talk system will be in there once that door arrives, which should be in the next, well, we should be down to 2 to 4 weeks now. They give you a 3 to 5 week estimate, so it's just kind of all based on shipping and material availability, and that should be a calling tree style, and it will also be a fob door for staff, so way more convenient. Yes, ma'am.
Can you, I know it's a big discussion at UND right now, they're getting new fobs, so it's hot on my mind.
Sure.
What are the new fobs going to have access to, or how will people use them here for our school?
They won't serve any differently than they currently do. Yeah, the new fob systems are just up to date, is honestly the best answer I can give you. Our system that we currently utilize is so old we can't get new software for it. So, not anymore, it's been replaced. But and then once school is over at the end of this week, at the beginning of next week, they should start installing the new readers, which will sync with the new system. And then by the end of this week, all of the staff returning next year for sure, so like not paras and stuff like that, but will be receiving their new fobs. So they'll have 2 fobs. Once the new system is installed, the new reader is installed, they can throw away the old ones. And they're 2 different colors. Our old fobs are gray, the new ones are black and blue. So don't throw the wrong one away. We only currently have fobs on our exterior doors, minus, I believe, the pool at Red River. I believe has a fob.
Other questions, comments?
Yeah.
Yep, Dr. Brenner.
And just one other comment, that EAPC has given us some things to think about relative to that whole front entryway and how that space could be repurposed and how that could be designed. So it's utilized and we can still see who's coming in. We want to make sure we're seeing who's being buzzed in. Thank you, Daley.
Amber, anything? Any questions or comments from any other board members? We are adjourned.